Welcome everyone to the RTG Baseball Podcast, where we travel down the road to glory 1 week at a time. We're gonna break down the week that was in fantasy, check out the leaders in the league, and then pivot to this week's IRL Baseball topic, which really is gonna be a where are we now? We're in the month through the season. How are we doing in fantasy? How are we doing in real life? We'll take a look. I'm your host and commissioner, Coach Will, and I'm joined tonight by a resident Red Sox fan and serial third place finisher, Coach Andrew.
The Yankees suck. How's it going, Will?
Yo, I can't defend myself right now, but next week, hopefully we won't be coming off of another Devin Williams. I talked about that like 3 episodes out of all these episodes of the season, like blown saves. Like I thought we got rid of it, but whatever. It's fine. At least we're in first place.
Yeah.
For now. Dum, dum,
It's
dum.
it's not the strongest battle for the top of the division.
Yeah, it's like we're all like flailing around losing. This is probably how the people on the fantasy league feel as well. Just who's injured this week, who do I have to replace, who's having like a horrible start to the season and got a bench. And now I mean we're in May, so we talked small sample size before. Up to you whether this is still small sample size, but it probably is the time to at least do things if it's not small sample size.
Yeah, you've talked about your chunk theory,
Yep.
and that's a nice theory, but I gotta admit I'm a sucker for the month to month outlook on things. I do think once you hit May 1st, that's a really good time to sort of, nothing's finalized obviously, but I think it's a reasonable point to take stock and evaluate where you're at.
I've always hesitated on that month by month thinking because it's just like it feels too simple. Like, oh, of course you're just gonna pick a month because it's just easy. It's like on the calendar. Like, where's the logic on like exactly why you pick 30 days or something? But at the very least, it shouldn't be too small a sample size in theory. Like, I don't know what the right number is. Like 30 days is probably enough. So I guess it's fine. I mean, MLB The Show, that's when like all your notifications come in how people did like for the month. So the video game agrees with you at the very least. So I do have a couple housekeeping items this week. I'm not sure if anyone got these notifications. I did edit 2 of the non-scoring stats. So if you were to look at the players page and change the categories drop down to scoring, so it's showing you the categories that score you points. For offense, WOBA is there, and for pitching, FIP is there. So you don't get points for that, but it lets you see your teams and your players, WOBA and FIP. So those I have to like periodically update that because it uses some data from the real life season. So I just deleted it and re-added it to do those updates. So you may have seen those notifications. That's all there is to it. But be happy that they should be very close to like if you were to look up a player's WOBA fan graphs. It should be close. It's probably not identical, but it would be close.
Shout
Second
out to
housekeeping. WOBA. Second housekeeping. I have checked in on the Colorado Rockies. I believe they won 2 games this time between last time we spoke. This is
Wow.
nice.
Congrats.
6 wins so far. They are 17 and a half games back of the division.
Wow.
13
how's
back
that
in the
looking,
wild
though?
card. Look, then their nearest team is still the Pirates, and they are 6 games behind them. Actually, they might be
Oh, the White Sox.
They actually had like five games when you account for the different. Oh, do you think the White Sox? Let me check on
Yeah,
them.
the White Sox
Oh,
are 10-25.
all right. So we
Look
are
closer.
three games back in the. I didn't consider them because when we talked National League. So
It's true.
uh, I gotta. It's really just between them, the Pirates, and the Marlins for the Rockies to not fail me. Can't believe they don't like. More than a month has passed. They do not have 10 wins. So sad.
What's the threshold for a team full of completely replacement level players? How many wins is that? Do you think they'll
It's supposed to be like 60, but their winning percentage is 176. So quick Google math. Dot 176 times 162. Oh dear. Oh. If they don't change this, they will not win 30 games this year.
Wow. So according to the AI overview,
Yes.
which grain of salt, um, a team built entirely with replacement level players is expected to have a record of roughly 48 and 114, translating to a 294 winning percentage.
And the Rockies are well below that pace right
Well
now.
below.
Yeah, I'm
Dark
running out of.
times. Dark times.
Yeah, I don't see the light at the end of the tunnel, but maybe Chris Bryant
Yeah.
could channel his olden ways and pull them out of this. Uh,
Yeah. I yeah.
so that's just the update on my hopes for the Rockies. Maybe they'll hopefully better news next week. Let's get a winning streak. Let's go. Um, so since we're at the month point now, it is a good time to check in on all of our fantasy teams, and you've got a month of data. You've got a maximum of 6 wins you could have gotten in this time. And we could just take a quick look up and down the standings and even the power rankings too. There's a lot of interesting stuff here. In fact, if anyone wants to follow along, you do need to be on the website version for this. But if you go to the league page and then you go to standings, they have a lot of nice tabs to help you evaluate your season. So we start off just on the overall tab of the standings, which is the standings, and we had a great. It was a marquee matchup between the undefeated Nate and the recently defeated Nick, and it is Nick that would end up coming out on top in this battle. Right now, these have been basically the top two. Well, not basically, they have been the top two teams so far in record, and it is very exciting to as if it can't as the unbiased commissioner now, not Coach Will. It is exciting to have new blood at the top, and we got new blood in a couple different places too. Yeah, if you remember, their teams were led by big pitching stars. Hunter Green has been leading the way for Nate, and Garrett Crochet has been leading the way for Nick.
And Zach Wheeler's no slouch either.
Oh no! I mean these teams, these pitching staffs are are big. We're gonna go through like overall team stats, like team ERA, shortly here, but it was a pleasure to see. This is the type of matchup where it's like, we might be seeing this again in September in the playoffs.
Very possible, though. I'm sure Nate will be hoping for an improved performance.
Of course, but everyone has had uh one of those matchups. You hate for it to come against like the premier competition, but it leaves you salivating. You want more. You want revenge.
Yeah.
Is what it's a stuff you lead. Really get you going in this kind of head to head league, because we could have been in a roto league. That's a league where there's no games. It's just who had the most home runs after 6 months and who had the most singles after 6 months and best ERA 6 months. but I much prefer this rivalry building thing. And remember, this is the Royals fan versus Guardians fans as well. There's a lot of aspects to this.
True. Nate was let down by his own Gavin Williams, who put up minus 14 points.
And you know what's interesting? If we so that's the standings. The power rankings, separate tab. Neither of them are at the top, which is very interesting. In fact, at the very top is Coach Eric, who did land a crushing defeat against me this past week. And with that win, he jumped up to the #1 ranked team in the CBS Power Rankings. If you remember, we talked about his team. He had the double first baseman with Harper and Pete Alonso. Since last we spoke about him, Francisco Alvarez has come off the injured list. Will likely be slotting back into his catcher slot soon. He has Hunter Brown, who has been absolutely dominant from the Astros, and for Eric. Let's get an update on our top pitchers here. It was Garrett Crochet last time we looked at this. And it looks like it is Brown. Brown has taken that spot from Crochet by half a point.
Interesting. And in 6-year innings.
Yep. I like kind of like viewing the like who's leading the team. So like you could argue like Team Eric is Team Hunter Brown. Hunter Brown leading the pitching, and then on offense it'd be Pete Alonso for sure leading the offense. So Team Alonso and Team Hunter Brown. Two unexpected things. That's like this early. You're seeing your unexpected heroes, but eventually it's like it's been a month. Like how you start thinking it's real.
And you start to, believe, or maybe not believe, whether or not it's sustainable. I think a lot of Mets fans were probably high on Pete Alonso, but I'm not sure if anyone quite expected, this level of performance. Will he continue that throughout the rest of the season?
And it allows you as well. Like in the meantime, while Pete Alonso is dominating, it covers for Alvarez having injured this time. It allows you to try out some different pitchers to find out if they have what it takes. You could for Eric's case, he can withstand Clase having a slow start to the season. So it's unsurprising then to see him at the top of the power rankings, high up on the standings. He's right there with me, third and fourth place. And then this could be unprecedented. I'd have to go in the archives, but right now, fifth in the standing is Coach Phil. We haven't talked much about him. Newer to the league, lots of potential, but things just seem to go wrong for him. We did mention maybe in our first episode that he was someone that had a #1 overall draft pick, and of course that ended up being
Is it Cunha, right?
Acuna, who would just be injured for the whole season to sabotage things.
Yeah, that can really set you back quite a bit. For most teams, that one or two players really provide a significant chunk of their points, and if you take that out, I mean that can be back-breaking.
And it really doesn't like you scroll through the roster. It doesn't look remarkable. It looks like, oh yeah, maybe like an average team, slightly below average. But they've been able to put up so far. It's most likely just consistent enough from everyone. Like so, no stand. Like maybe one standout. Lindor, his minor league draft pick, Christian Campbell, has been great. Uh, he hasn't really needed to build up the depth yet. Just a lot has worked out. I'm very curious to see if this continues. He's someone who is using a spark strategy. That's a relief pitcher, or starting pitcher in a relief slot as well. It has worked so far. Uh, we're gonna we're gonna pay attention to Phil going forward. This would be very exciting if this can continue. And of course, speaking of, right after that is our co-host from last week. We've got Coach Joe with the Mighty Taco. We got Coach Jamie and then Coach Brian, all at 503-3. Uh, any of them, I actually. So obviously, we're excited for show, excited for Jamie. If you want to be excited for show, maybe you don't want to be excited for show, but big expectations. People are looking for big things. It's a little disappointing for Coach Brian, who had his breakout last year. Uh, Starts off 500. Uh, People, I think, were expecting okay, like he had the Cinderella season last year. Let's see it continued, and it's been shaky so far.
Yeah, and he's got Bregman, who's been off to a super hot start. Mullins as well, off to a great start. Semyon, though, um, it's been pretty rough. 182 batting average. That's not what you like to see.
Also, he is the owner of Devin Williams, so that's not great.
Yeah,
Not great
yeah.
so far.
But yep, Yamamoto's been having a great year. Yeah, it's still
But
looking at
just
the
got
roster. There's not any gaping holes that are jumping out.
no solid. Another solid team. But this is what happens. You're the talk of the town. You have a breakout year. Everyone's behind you. You're the underdog. But then the next year, you got the expectations. It's not just a fun ride anymore.
You have to continue to deliver.
Yeah. Actually, if you go to back to the standings, and then instead of being on the overall standings, you click on power ranking from there. That's where you'll get the rankings we talked about before. They actually split things up with they'll give you a ranking for your record. They'll give you a ranking for your points for, and then there's a column called breakdown. And what that's doing is your record against everybody on every single week. Uh, Higher numbers are better. So in this power ranking, Coach Brian is a little higher, helped out by his points for, uh, which is top 8 or top 5, like eighth best, I should say. Um, oh, sorry, fourth best. Sorry, it's the way the points are laid out. It's a little counterintuitive, but the bigger, like I said, bigger number better. If you actually click one of the headers, like you click breakdown, then you get
Ugh.
like who's the best against everybody all the time. That's where you get Show himself at the top, Eric and I at the top, Nick and you at the top, and then Brian rounding out that top half.
Interesting. I was not aware of that breakdown column.
Yeah, and I think correct me if I'm wrong, like that type of evaluation is something you've been interested in seeing in the past, is it not? The record versus
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah, well, and that especially when we're still only 1 month in, as we've said, and the sample size is, you know, notable but not large, and um, you can definitely, uh, in both directions, you can have a false sense of uh, your team doing well, or on the flip side, you or maybe just getting very unlucky. And this is an interesting tool to sort of help you evaluate, you know, what's real and what's not.
And the combination of all those things I mentioned is what all gets combined to your power ranking. So it's not coming out of completely the blue. There is some math behind it, and that's where you find the math. There's some other fun stats. So if you same area standings, but now you go to manager stats. You sometimes see this talked about in the CBS Around the League recap. There are some very fun uh, evaluations on your managerial skills. For example, there's a column of points earned and lost. So this would be CBS thinks you should do one thing, but you do a different thing. Was it a good decision? You got net positive points or you got net negative points?
Oof.
What stands out to you? I think I know.
Uh, yeah. Negative 66 and a half for the soon to be formerly named Scott's Tots.
Oh, we got a name change in the works.
TBD.
DVD. All right, fair
Stay
enough.
tuned. Stay tuned.
How does it make you feel? So according, like, actually not technically, yeah, unbiased, like via the numbers, uh CBS ranks you as being a poor manager here.
That's it's tough to see, but I suppose the facts are the facts. Though I do question. I do think you have to take this with some grain of salt. Um, for example, take a look at Rachel's team. She's positive 70. But there have been some pretty questionable uh decisions with regards to keeping players in the lineup who may or may not have been suspended for steroid use. So
Well, that's what happens when you don't have another like person on the bench to replace them. So there's no decision to be made because
yes,
there is no
so
alternative.
hence the grain of salt. So,
Funny enough,
but
it looks like
useful or interesting to look at, nevertheless.
yeah, it's interesting. Like they also have like they're showing your coaching risk, like the number of times you went against the experts, quote unquote.
Hmm.
So like by that, uh like Rachel, Show, Nick, Matap have been the most, yes, controversial managers in their decisions. And uh Show and Matap are basically net neutral. Nick is way negative. So could maybe you interpret this as if you have a big negative number, uh it's like uh it's like Babbitt for like, oh, I expect this person to do even better going forward. Cause like if you think this is luck, then a big negative number would predict fortune in your future. But if you think this is skill, then this would be like a trend where like, I need to make a change. That'd be interesting to. I mean, what's your like? Do you have like a weekly Sunday night process of deciding who goes in, who goes out, or is it so early that things are pretty stable?
Yeah, I mean, I tend to take a "what have you done for me lately" approach. Um, with pitchers, number of starts is obviously um, pretty big factor. But then I'll look at the last 7 or 14 days and uh, tend to go based off of that more so than the uh, projections. I want to know who is hot at this moment, and taking a look at actual results. Uh, but maybe based on this data, that might not be the best approach.
maybe not. I mean, the what you've done for me lately strategy again on the website. If you were to go to the my team page, and then overview, which is usually the default, the far right, it's giving you just a total for the whole season. It's giving you what they scored today, and then it gives you what they scored in the whole matchup so far. So in this case, in matchup six. So if you look at this on a Sunday or a Monday, but before the next matchup starts, it would be telling you what they did in the last 7 days. Then it's telling you what they did the last matchup. I go by that a lot. Where if I'm between two players and I was like, oh well, this person just scored 10 points, whereas the other person scored 40 points last week. That might mean that they're hot. But I also look at I try to do matchups too. Like they're going to Colorado, so there's a tiebreaker because they're
Mm.
probably gonna do well in Colorado. Like
Yeah,
Detroit's in Colorado this week, so I have Javi Bias this week. I don't know if he'll be here next week, but he's here this week because they're playing Colorado.
and I tend to factor that in more with pitching, um, in part because, you know, even if you face a great pitching team, within a series, you're gonna be facing so many pitchers over the course of that series, and there's gonna be more variation likely.
Totally makes sense. Totally makes sense. So Andrew, give me a stat you like. Give me like a uh just your fun, your warm and cozy stat you like to live by.
Um, well, I don't know if it's necessarily warm and cozy, but I mentioned this earlier in the program, but I think WOBA is I think it's a bit of an overlooked stat. Uh, the way I like to look at it is, we've all heard about the death of batting average as a
Yep.
valued stat as compared to uh, on base percentage, and that always rubbed me the wrong way, because yes, in many, if not most scenarios, a walk is uh, just as useful as a hit, a single, but not always. And it would be nice if that was captured somehow. And the aim of WOBA is to sort of weight all of those different outcomes accordingly, walk, single, double, um, not necessarily based on the number of bases, but uh, the, expected outcome of that event, with regards to scoring runs. So
Absolutely. And I also like WOPA. So by going to stats and then categories on scoring, I can tell you our best WOPA players through the first six matchups here. And the teams whose offense has the highest WOBA is the Islanders, Coach Eric's squad, the 357 WOBA. Then followed by Coach Brian, Coach Show, Coach Nick, myself, and Matab. At least for offense, this is an interesting. I'm not sure if I'm ready to say it's a predictor, and in context of fantasy, like your team offense. But I think like zooming in, we talked about being disappointed in Brian, 3-3 right now. Offensively, though, he is second best in WOBA. I think that's a great sign. Like, maybe like it. There's a couple different reasons that like he could have been running into bad luck in terms of his opponents. Maybe remember WOBA's a rate stat, so he's just not getting enough games from his hitters to take advantage of that high WOBA.
it's also just the offensive half of the team. So
Fair point. So on the pitching side, let's sort by FIP. We talked about that a lot last time. So if we check out the best pitching teams, now we get Coach Phil at the top. Show again. Myself, Jamie, and then Brian at the halfway point for. So it seems like he's for fifth at least, middle of the pack, and then for offense he's top, basically top of the pack. Uh, for this, first of all, that this tells me Phil is like having an awesome pitching team. Um, it would also be good to like if you are Phil right now, you listen to this, you can go look up your team's ERA, compare that to your FIP. It's it's not perfect, but hypothetically, if your ERA is like 2 right now and your FIP is 3, which it is, there might be some regression coming. There's a huge might because FIP isn't designed to like have all the players evaluated at the same time combined. But it would be a good experiment to like track a team and see like if it does regress or not. Also, Show is high up on both of these, off WOBA and FIP, which is a if you're Show, you gotta be liking that.
Yeah, tracks with the points so far.
Only trouble is he too is at 3-3 at 500. So despite being awesome offensively and awesome with pitching, it is not translated in results.
Yeah, but I always like to look at you know similar to run differential. I think uh, points for and points against, but mainly points for because obviously you don't control your points against in fantasy. That can be a good indicator of um, rough expectation versus results. And Show is second in points for. Um, so that aligns with the stats you've just mentioned, and could be an indicator of just some unfortunate luck, especially considering um, he's top five in points against.
Yeah. Some other fun stuff too. So I went to offense again. I sorted by stolen bases. So who's out there stealing stolen bases is not part of WOBA. So and yet
Right.
you do get points for it. You also lose points for called stealings. So Nick, Matab, and Nate are all at the top for stolen bases, topping out at 43 with Nick. And then the bottom is Rachel, Faraj, and Show. We just praised Show, but he's not doing it with stolen bases. That's for sure. Maybe I
And
mean maybe is could that be an aspect that would be interesting? It's like maybe you need at least a little bit of stolen. This isn't a categories league where you really pay attention to stolen bases, but maybe that does give you an extra edge if you got these base stealers like adding points regularly.
it's definitely nice to have.
And I think the pitching version of that would be home runs allowed because that's the now that is part of FIP, but that is the big swing uh in points when your pitchers give up long balls. And funny enough, wow,
Should
this is wild. So we at the top of the league is Nate, like tied with Nick, but here Nate is worst in home runs allowed, allowing 50 home runs, and the next closest is you at 38. That's a big gap. There's a lot of people hovering in the 30s and 20s, and that's it. So literally, it's a steady increase, and then bam, 50 for Nate. That's weird. I don't know if to make it this yet, but that's an interesting observation.
Yeah, interesting comparing that with his FIP as well, because that much of a gap in home runs you'd think would be um, something that would show up in your FIP.
Yeah, well, a strip is over 4, so like the
Not
lead
ideal.
leading was Phil at basically 3. Uh, in fact, only Matab, Faraj, and Rachel have worse FIPS right now than Nate. But clearly he's overcoming it because let's go straight pitching points. So no stats here, just straight points. See what we get here. Unsurprisingly, Phil dominating, also first in pitching points. Uh, and despite that, Nate is 6th, so right in the middle, right next to Nick. I'll tell you, this is gonna be all season long. Nick and Nate fighting. So here they are again, side by side, 6th and 7th, and points for pitching.
Does he just have a lot of strikeouts? Because look at his earned runs. It's 130.
Yeah,
Just the
maybe we need
strikeouts.
regular ERA because right, you want to factor in how many
Yeah.
innings have
I think
actually
the
or
strikeouts
batters
are
pitched.
what's saving him here.
Let's take a look here. So regular ERA. Oh, well, this isn't helping either. So regular ERA is also quite low. 4
I think
ERA.
I think it's strikeouts. He's got 334, which leads the league.
Yeah, what do you know? There's only one other person even above 300, which is Nick. Hmm. Uh,
So strikeouts are keeping Nate afloat at the
what
moment.
what what a fun combination. He's a strikeout monster, but also long balls are flying
You're
out
not
too.
touching this, but if you do, it's going a mile.
This is why I love analyzing stats to paint the picture. I would like flip briefly into IRL baseball. This is when, like, if you're the fan of the team, you know this already because you watch every game. But if you don't, if it's a team you don't watch, this paints the picture of the team. Like, okay, this is a like Rick Vaughn strategy, like type of pitching staff where they go for strikeouts all the time, but when you get it, it goes far.
It's like Nate's pitching is collectively the Joey Gallo of pitching.
Yeah, exactly. I'm also curious. We don't track this, or we don't give points for quality starts, but I'm interested if there's any correlation here for quality starts. That's Eric, Brian, Phil, you, and me, and actually everyone's very close. This whole spread is only like 10, like from 12 to 22 quality starts. Uh, I was hoping maybe this suggested like, oh, your pitchers pitch deep, and that would give you points. But I don't know if you noticed this. Like, you can do really well with a 5 and fly pitcher. Like
Mm.
if your starting pitcher pitches 5 shutout innings, 6 strikeouts, let's say, like that's a lot of points. That's really good.
Yeah, I mean strikeouts are valued very highly in this league.
It
And
kind of
yeah,
yeah.
looking at Nate's two highest strikeout pitchers, Hunter Green and Zach Wheeler, 57 apiece. Is that right? That can't be. That's that's so many.
What you say? You said 57. They
Oh
each
no,
have.
50, or 55 and 57. That's a ton.
Oh yeah, that would be like if they had 5 starts. They're like over 10 a start. They probably
Yeah,
had 6. They probably had six
yeah,
starts each.
yeah. Because Hunter Green at 42 innings, 55 Ks. Zach Wheeler, 44 innings, 57 Ks. It's a pretty good clip.
Makes you want to go. Like you're looking to trade for people. You're looking for add people free agency. It might be as simple as sort by strikeouts. Maybe
Could
like
be.
can you like perhaps you if you, but the thing is though, if you get a let's just say a average or worse pitcher, but he's a strikeout pitcher, you need to avoid the blow up starts because then the strikeouts is just negated.
Yeah.
But if they just pitch average, 6 strikeouts, 7 strikeouts, 8 strikeouts, that's gonna be good. Uh maybe wrapping up on the fantasy side. we you were talking about batting average before, and maybe you if I let you go on, you would have said like, "Don't give off a batting average yet." Like I like, well,
I
we're
had a soapbox. Well, I was ready to go.
so funny enough, you're part of the case study here. So unfortunately, you haven't had a great start to the season. Matab as well. We've talked about it like every episode so far. Also hasn't a great start to the season. Funny enough, both of you have very high batting averages, like team batting average right now. Matab
Hmm.
at 270 and you at 264. Um, and I mean, maybe I liked what you were saying, but maybe batting average is dead. At least here in Road to Glory.
Well, I think it depends on what you want to replace it with. I think any single stat on its own can only take you so far. And I think a lot of folks like to present it as, oh, you know, batting average on its own isn't that useful. It's like, well, sure. There's very few stats, on their own that are, you know, super useful. That's why I think something like OPS, OPS plus, or WOBA. If you had to pick one offensive stat, uh, that's probably what I would go with. To paint the complete picture. Um, but I do believe that it's batting average is always something I look at, when trying to paint the picture.
Yeah, it does. It does feel like here, we're giving fantasy advice for this league. It may need to be like the third or fourth thing you look at instead of the first or second thing you look at,
Yeah,
just based on everyone's batting average and then how they're offensively doing. We do have a cool so on if you are in the category scoring, which we were looking at a little bit before, there is points per plate appearance, PTSPPA. If you're looking at the columns,
huh,
it is what it sounds like. Uh, this it's not the end all be all, but this should be pretty definitive. This is just literally per plate appearance. How many points you're gonna get? So the higher, definitely the better here. The top of this list is Eric, Nick, Brian, Show. Um, the asterisk with this one is it. I maybe this is gonna make this will. I'm sure this will matter more for the pitching side of this. But like you could have a great plate appearance, but if you don't have a lot of plate appearances, then like you have a great backup catcher or not that like Jose Trevino and Austin Wins. I have been around a lot of Reds people lately, so those two catchers are individually doing well, but they're splitting time. So like if you have one of those catchers on your team, they're only playing 3 or 4 times a week each. So you'd have a high points per plate appearance, but you'd have half the plate appearances of everybody else. Hence the not as many points. This is going to be super exaggerated for pitchers. The pitcher version of this is points per batter's face, PTSPBF.
see if I
Uh,
was fast.
like in that, Phil's been awesome with pitching, but he's actually second in this. Still great, but it's Jamie who is number one in points for batters faced. However, he has 100 fewer batters faced. Uh, on his squad. And if you want to go by innings, he has 20 fewer innings. So that could just be the flow of the season. That could be not taking advantage of two-star pitchers enough. That could be one person has a relief pitcher in or starting pitcher in the relief slot where somebody else is using three true relievers.
It could be your pitchers are just more efficient and are able
Yeah,
to
you're right.
get through more innings.
So this I admit that on the pitching side, there's a lot of possible explanations, but I still think it's safe to say like you want a big number, and the big numbers do tend to be like I'm seeing the top pitching teams in the league up here. So it does seem to track. Like I would say special attention to Eric and Nate. Let's say Eric and Nate have they have pretty good. Well, probably it's probably like average actual points for, like pitching points for, but really really low points per batters faced. So I speculate that they're it's either that they have a lot of innings, like lots of two-star pitchers, or it could be like they have relievers that get into and out of trouble, but ultimately for relievers, saves get you like they overshadow a lot, so you can deal with that as a reliever, which it increases batters. Say like if you get in trouble, get out of trouble, you face like six batters in your save, uh, and still get the save, you could live with that. So I hopefully like this, like we tried to talk through it. If you're following along, there's a lot of just interesting numbers just thrown here on CBS. One reason we're on CBS now. Without any offline Excel sheets, a lot of it's here for you. And you can do similar things with the like people on free agency as well. You could filter to show only people who are on other teams if you're looking at trade targets. Uh I did hear rumors. I think one of our people already put players on the trade block. So if you're paying attention, there might be some trades open out there for you. Any any other just storylines in the league? I guess maybe you're most in tune with your own team, but any like morals one to take 1 month in?
Um, I think one thing I always like to look at is the uh, the cutoff line for who's in the playoffs and who isn't, and how far behind teams are. And if you look at the standings, one, two, three, four, five, six. Sixth place is 3-3.
Remember
Um,
seven this year,
yeah, so
still
same,
3-3.
yeah, still 3-3, but yeah, seven. Sorry, um, and that means uh, out of the league, 10 teams are at least within one game of 3-3. So uh, no one's out of it, and no one has locked in their spot either. So obviously, you'd much prefer to be in the position that Nate is in over Matab or Rachel, but uh, you know, don't give up and don't count your chickens. That's what I'd say.
True words never spoke. So, uh, we really did want to focus this time on the like month in review for our league. I did just pull it to IRL for a second. It's just interesting to see what's happening in the world of MLB right now. We know the stories of the Rockies. You don't have to talk with the Rockies anymore. The actual NL West, they're looking pretty cool. If you want to, I don't know if you have the standings pulled up now, but
I mean,
uh, my I am most interested. Well, technically, I'm always interested in the AL East. That's my division. So, other than the AL East, I think I'm most interested in the NL East. It seems like there should be like a lot of storylines going on. If you're Mets, Phillies, Nationals, Braves, or Marlins fans listening, you know better than I. But the like all those teams watched Juan Soto join the Mets, and then the Phillies and Braves have been to the playoffs recently. The Mets were just in the playoffs for the first time in a while. The Nationals are hoping that this is a big step up year for them, and the Marlins are there.
they're also in the division.
Uh, but like in my head, this is similar to the AL East. Like I expected like Mets, Phillies, Braves all to dominate, and so far the Mets have been great. Phillies good, and the rest of them under 500. So that is a surprise to me. And the Braves aren't even in third place. The Braves are in fourth place.
Yeah, but the Braves are a bit of a mystery. I don't really understand. I mean, do you think they're out of it?
Well, out of what? Because there's multiple levels here. So
Sure.
World Series contention, playoff contention.
I mean, World
Well,
Series contention. I can't imagine there's a whole lot of folks outside of state of Georgia that are placing bets on the Braves.
it wouldn't seem likely right now. The thing, especially the National League. So you want to make the playoffs. Okay, first you start in your own division, but right now the Phillies and Mets are outclassing you. So then you want to win the wild card, but then you're
The
gonna have
NL
to be
West.
you got to be better than a bunch of other teams, including the Padres, and the Giants, and the Diamondbacks, and the uh,
Not
I
the
never believe in
Rockies.
this. Not the no, not the Rockies, not the Rockies.
And the NL
So,
West is stacked.
yeah, that's my pick. Is your pick gonna be the West? Is that the one most interested to you?
Um, yeah, I mean, as a single division, I mean that's got to be up there. Um, in terms of like just pure parity, I mean, dealer's choice, I suppose, with any of the American League divisions. I mean, if you had a crystal ball and, you know, told me, three teams out of any of the divisions, we're going to win, it wouldn't be the most surprising thing I've ever seen.
I just had to double take, and I understand that I'm not following American League West business. The nameless Athletics are in second place, one game behind the division lead.
I, I don't, I don't think they're pushovers this year. I mean, I don't take them as a serious threat, uh, as it pertains to, you know, World Series odds, but uh, I mean, they could sneak into the playoffs.
Even though they're 4 games above 500 and in second place, I would still be bamboozled. I cannot fathom. And then we're gonna play games in Sacramento in the playoffs.
I mean, that would be any games in Sacramento or George Steinbrenner Field could be a travesty for the
Yeah,
playoffs.
if my team has to lose, at least get those two teams in the playoffs. So I could see a playoff series between the Rays and the Athletics. It'd be amazing. Like the lowest rated series in decades.
The homeless bowl.
Like yeah, I mean yeah, that would be. And even though the ratings would tank, I would watch a couple innings. Uh, Aaron Judge still, in terms of just like players in the league,
Yeah,
still on base of 500, which has
you know,
been insane.
he's what's his wins above replacement so far?
Oh, I wonder if it's two. It's probably already two. Let's see. He has been in like stupendous. Like if and when he goes through a huge slump, that slump will probably still bring him down to like 330, which is amazing.
Yeah, his wins above replacement, according to Fangraphs, is equal to the next three players combined.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Can you guess who those other three players are?
These few players. Is it this the whole both leagues?
No, 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 on the Yankees, I'm saying.
Oh, on the
No, 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 not like I'm saying on the New York Yankees. Aaron Judge is the
all right.
equivalent
Give
of
me. Is this hitters? So hitters only?
It is not hitters only, which
Not
is
hitters only.
a bit of a giveaway.
Give me Max Free, Carl
Yeah.
Rodon, and
Well, you know, so Max Reed is one of them.
Max Free, one
He
of them.
he
Okay,
he's number 3 in the team with 1.1.
okay, okay. Uh, who's the only players doing anything? Give it Trent Grisham.
Trent Grisham is number 2 at 1.2.
Oh my god, also insane, by the way. Um, and then what about Benjamin Rice? Do we got him?
That's correct.
Benjamin Rice.
1.1.
He's been slumping
Tied,
lately,
tied,
but
tied with Max Reed. So combined,
wow,
they equal the value that Aaron Judge has
what's
provided.
what's an all star? Like a 4 Wars, an all star
Seasons. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like Otani right now is batting 300, on base 400, slugging 600. Amazing, incredible. And he's still being overshadowed by Judge for now.
Yeah. It's,
He's
it
actually being
pains.
overshadowed by Pete Alonso, to be honest, in his own league. Sorry to disrespect Pete Alonso. Sorry about that.
Yeah. Now it pains me to admit it, but Judge is putting up some stupid numbers so far.
Then in ERA leaders, we got Yamamoto, Max Fried, and then Tyler Mahle of the Texas Rangers. I don't know if you'll see him this series, but number 3 in ERA
Yeah, we got Nate Eovaldi today.
with the Nasty Nate.
Nasty
Nasty Nate
Nate.
is number 9 with a 2.03 ERA.
Yeah, he shoved it today. It is 6-1 in the 8th right now. So
Yeah, I think for real life baseball, like outside of your own team, even a month in is really early, but at least like you start to notice things. Like now I notice the Athletics and like, huh, that's odd.
yeah,
Like second place after 2 weeks, I don't even blink. Now I do blink, double
it's
take.
not necessarily sustainable, but it also feels like less of a fluke and
Yeah,
more of a
it
like this
means
is a real thing that happened.
I'm gonna actively check in next month to see where they are.
Yeah.
Whereas before I wasn't even thinking about them. And yeah, I guess for the AL East, we'll just see the Yankees and Red Sox just flail around, see who lands at the top in the end. Clearly, the Rays, Blue Jays, and Orioles are just not trying. So
Yeah, I mean, I maintain that I still think the American League is wide open for the taking. I don't think any team, even the hot start by the Tigers, we've you and I have discussed in the past, how seriously we you know take teams from the
yeah,
central
let
divisions.
me this is I'm gonna go on my soapbox now. This is how we're gonna end the show. So if you're a Central Division fan, I'm gonna be your worst enemy right now. This is why I do not
East
respect
Coast hater.
the American League East, especially because I see them more, but also the National League Central too. Uh,
You mean American League Central? You said American
American League
League West.
Central.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. American League Central. Uh, the fact is, any of the 5 teams, if they made serious efforts to improve, would just crush their own competition. They would dominate. They have the best opportunity ever. But instead, they're like, oh, we'll just improve a little bit here, a little bit there, stay on par with our competition. And then they end up like, randomly, one of them will win their own division, make it to the playoffs. But now they are get outclassed in those playoffs pretty often. Plus, they had to like go through the gauntlet to even win the division in the first place. Like they could have easily lost. Whereas, and kudos to the National League Central Cubs, they do make a big move. They bring in difference maker Kyle Tucker, and they are dominating. So kudos to them. That's what anybody could have done, except the White Sox. They're too far gone. But besides them, like imagine, like if the Tigers had done that, that like they do bring back Jack Flaherty. That's nice, but they had him. In fact, they got rid of him last year. If they had brought in someone like Kyle Tucker, they would
Well,
be they'd be like way beyond. So it just frustrates me that they let themselves be on the same par instead of like it's trying to separate themselves.
well, especially in the American League too. Yeah, the in the National League, you've got the powerhouses like the Dodgers and you know, well, what would have been the Braves in the East, but Mets and Phillies are investing too. Uh, but at the moment, the American League is just wide open. Despite the investments made by the Red Sox and Yankees in the offseason.
Yeah, they're there for the taking overall. You're right, but I just can't get past that the Twins, the Guardians, any of them, if they had taken a big step forward, just one, a single step forward, they could be very confident that they're the front runners and and power walk their way through the season. And then sure, injuries will happen, surprise breakout slumps, they adjust. But you would instead, they're all kind of on the same level, and it's going to be a dogfight the whole way through, and now a freak injury just tanks your season instead of like you have the advantage. Like for the Blue Jays in the American League East to do the same thing, like they would have probably had to make like two big. And in fact, like they did bring it. They brought in Anthony Santander. It's a power hitter, but like because there was a gap between them originally and the rest of the division, they have to do more moves to do that. So I mean, I'm mad at the Blue Jays too, but that's at least more understandable. There multiple things. The central teams, they could just do one big move, separate stuff. So that putting myself in their shoes, I'd be so mad at my own front office for letting 10 years pass and never separating ourselves.
And you look at every division in the American League, um, each division has at least three teams within 3 games of the lead.
Yeah.
And uh, the they're not the, the the Guardians aren't out of it. The Royals aren't out of it. Twins might be out of it, but
Not going well for the Twins, I admit, and I have no hope in the White Sox. So, but all right, we'll end the rant here. I am both mad and disappointed in every Central AL Central Division team.
though perhaps a little relieved.
Sure, that's true. These decisions have contributed to the Yankees going pretty much undefeated against the Central in the playoffs for 15 years almost. Actually, a little more than that. But still, when I think about them, and now that I see more fans of those teams instead of only seeing East Coast teams. So I encourage any people who want to, fight back against to maybe correct. Maybe there's things I simply don't understand. I don't live in their world. Come on down. We'll talk about it. We'll have a chat. We'll do East Coast versus Central. We'll see what we can talk about. Rant complete. Is there anything else you need to get off your chest, sir? Or are we good to wrap it up here?
Uh, no, Fenway's in the fire alarm at the moment, but pulling the George Steinbrenner
I
field.
was about to say, mini rant. You mocked our spring training field for that, and look at this. All right, see, it can happen to any major league stadium.
Well, after 110 years, it'll happen at some point.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the RTG Baseball Podcast. We're 1 month in. It's time to get to work, everyone, as we get into the summer and see who's gonna pull away in the league and who maybe is gonna get left behind. Until we speak again,
Every swing's
ciao.
a chance to take control.